Hello everyone. The guests have arrived. I request everyone to I request everyone to please be seated and keep your mobile phones on silent. We will be starting with the program. Karo start. Namaste, Adab, and a very warm welcome to one and all present here. This is Shwetali Bhagwat, ex-member of FSAI Student Chapter Pune, welcoming you all for the seminar on Fire Safety of High-Rise Building and Mixed Occupancy 2022. Fire and Security Association of India is a non-profit organization established in 2002, representing fire safety, life safety, security, building automation, loss prevention, and risk management domains. After a crucial time of pandemic for more than 2 years, we are back again for the second time with highly insightful meet. Today, we will be gaining knowledge from the dignitaries of different sectors. We will have sponsors presentation, panel discussion, question answer round, felicitation of our dignitaries, award distribution in different categories, and at last, dinner. This event is sponsored by Bonton Cables, Tulsi Fire, Swastik Synergy, Testo India, Sevitak Marketing, Vignaharta. This seminar is being conducted in association with Fire Department PCMC and project supported by MEPA, ISHRE and BI. Now, without taking too much time, let's start with the program. I take this opportunity to welcome all our honorable dignitaries on the stage with a huge round of applause. I welcome Dr. Deepak Mahisekar, Shri Santosh Warik, Shri Vikas Dhakne, Shri Kiran Gowde, Mr. Ajit Raghavan, Mr. Nitin Joshi, and Ms. Archana Gavane in order to begin the program by lighting the lamp. I request Mr. Suresh Menon to please join the stage as well. I request the dignitaries to please take the seat on dais. Okay. Moving forward, we will now start our event with national anthem, which will be then followed by FACI anthem. So I request everyone to please stand up.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Working day and night to save us from disaster. Working months and years, making this our character. Making young minds a little more aware, letting them know They don't really care. So join us and make us strong. A safe society is where we must belong. Join us and make us strong. A safe society is where we must belong. हम होंगे कामयाब, हम होंगे कामयाब, हम होंगे कामयाब, हम होंगे कामयाब. We can save and secure our cities from despair. All that we ask for is your support and your care. Join FSAI for where we stand
Everyone,
tall.
this is the
Join
FSAI
us
anthem being
in
played
our
on
march,
the
for
screen.
this is nation's call. Join us and make us strong. A safe society is where we must belong. Join us and make us strong. A safe society is where we must belong. खतरों से करें अपनों की सुरक्षा, यही है अपनी जिम्मेदारी. हम होंगे कामयाब, हम होंगे कामयाब. आग, पानी, हवा या कैसी भी हो विपदा, हर हाल में बरतें होशियारी. हम होंगे कामयाब, हम होंगे कामयाब. आओ मिलके रखें नींव एक सुरक्षित भारत की, एक उज्जवल भविष्य की, यही है तैयारी. हम होंगे कामयाब, हम होंगे कामयाब, हम होंगे कामयाब. हम होंगे कामयाब, हम होंगे कामयाब, हम होंगे कामयाब. पूरा विश्वास, हम होंगे कामयाब एक दिन.
Thank you so much. It is my pleasure to invite FSAI Pune Chapter President, Honorable Mr. Nitin Joshi, to deliver the presidential address. Please, sir.
Chief guest of the program, Honorable Shri Deepak Mahesekar ji, special guest Shri Honorable Additional Commissioner Dhakne Saab, Honorable Director Maharashtra Fire Services Shri Santosh Warik ji, dignitaries on the dais, our Speaker and past President Shri Anand ji, Shri Vinod ji, Shri Vilas ji, and all eminent panelists, our National President Mr. Ajit Raghavan ji, and immediate past President Mr. Suresh Menon ji, all government authorities, fire officers, architects, consultants, contractors, developers, FSI members, and the audience. I am happy to be here as the president of Pune chapter at the seminar on fire safety of high-rise building and mixed occupancy. As you know, FSI is an NGO and our vision is to create Surakshit Bharat. I am glad to tell you that our national president, Mr. Ajit Raghavan, who took over this responsibility just 8 days back, is among us to tell you more about activities on the national level. I am proud to be president of one of the most active chapters. Pune chapter has many feathers in its cap. It has been the first chapter to organize FSA Marathon. Our past 3 marathons held at Balewadi Stadium attracted over 2,000 runners each year. Another first was establishing student chapters in various engineering colleges. Currently, we have student chapters in 3 colleges and we plan to add few more this year. In the March 21, our nation experienced massive fires at more than 20 COVID hospitals. This was quite alarming. So Pune chapter took the initiative and with the cooperation of chief fire officers from Pune municipal region, we studied the problem. Our CWC members helped to create a video on causes of fires in COVID hospital. You can find this video on FSA YouTube channel. In August, we successfully held India Fire Security Yatra at Bantara Bhavan Hall at Baner. It was full day event packed with roadshow and conference. Recently, we had a network meet at Hotel Pride. Apart from our pursuit of spreading awareness about fire security in public, we would like to percolate knowledge about advanced technologies in all stakeholders. Our industry has local manufacturing in only certain pockets. High technology equipment using advanced electronics are mostly being imported. FSI encourages localization of products to make our country truly Atmanirbhar. I am happy to note that with the help of FSI's Standardization Committee, Bureau of Indian Standards has rolled out several standards for fire security equipment. We plan to create this awareness in specifiers like consultants and architects to support Indian industries. Pune's realty sector is going through a see-through change due to upcoming high-rise and mixed-use buildings. Recent UDPCR does not limit the height of the building. Already several 100+ meter buildings have been announced and they are started coming up in PMRDA, Pune and PCMC region. These buildings are nothing but mini townships and many have mixed-use occupancy. Therefore, my committee thought of selecting this subject to create awareness and spread the knowledge. Our speakers today have vast experience in this subject, and I am sure the purpose of this seminar shall be well served. I am encouraged that we have received over 300 registrations for the seminar. Due to auditorium capacity, we could not accommodate all. I apologize to those who could not be accommodated. At the end, I would like to appeal citizens and fire security fraternity to become member of FSAI. We shall certainly deliver great returns to you by organizing many more such events like network meetings, seminars, trainings, roadshows, and mass awareness programs. I am happy that our chief guest, special guest, Director Maharashtra Fire Services, and other dignitaries graced this seminar. I thank our sponsors for supporting this event, and big thank you to all the attendees. Last but not the least, thank you to my CWC members who took all the efforts to make this event successful. And of course, special thanks to Gaude Sahib for being with us to support us. Thank you. Jai Hind. Jai Surakshit Bharat.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I heartily welcome the National President of FACI, Honorable Mr. Ajit Raghavan, to share a few words. Please, sir.
Good evening, Pune. It's indeed a pleasure to be here. First of all, I would like to thank our dignitaries who have come all the way. Thank you so much for encouraging us. It is really good to see you all here because it's a big encouragement for FSAI, for our members, for all our working committee members that you have been here. To dignitaries of the dais, my industry colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to all of you. First of all, I really must appreciate you all taking your time off on a Saturday evening to come and attend this event. It's absolutely a great initiative by Pune chapter to kind of host such an event and with a subject which is very, very important as on today. If you look at tall buildings, we're talking about literally so many tall buildings coming up. So are we really prepared for it? I mean, because there is a responsibility of the builders, the consultants, the architects, the installers. So it's a big responsibility of all of us together to see that the buildings are safe. And how do we do? Like as FSA, we really kind of, have these kind of seminars, educate people. We also kind of go to kind of buildings and kind of have demonstrations over there along with the local fire brigade. Mr. Rajesh Shirke, one of our very active members who actually does training, physically going into buildings and kind of training people. it is actually a big responsibility of us to educate people and to see that they're safe. Now, FSI also has a lot of things that we do. One of the big things which is very close to our heart is the school initiative program. And that is very important. Like most of us, when we were in school, we were never trained on fire safety. It's quite probably a topic which you never touch in school. And it is so important actually that children are educated and they know the importance of fire safety at a very early age. And they know how to react when there's a fire. I mean, I was glad in Bombay, I think we had a fire and a small child who had attended a program had actually gone and saved so many people there. So it is basically on how they are taught to react in case there's a fire, and that's very important. The other things what FSI does is we have a lot of these kind of technical training programs. We have trainings from NFPA. We have some of the best training programs that we can see. I think the last, during COVID times, it was a real tough time. Suresh, as a president, I should say he did a great job. We had more than 200 webinars on technical subjects so that people could attend even though they were at home. They could still be connected and they could get details on the most advanced technologies that's happening around. So that's another thing that we do. The other things is creating awareness, meeting government authorities, getting involved in the code committees, which is extremely important because codes has to be updated. Like we got our NBC after 10 years, quite probably, but the amount of changes that had happened in the construction, in overall the entire ecosystem, it was too much for us to kind of really, when we got the new NBC, we realized what we were missing out. Passive fire was never a big subject. Today we look at passive fire again as a big subject. So it is actually extremely important that FSCI, we get our members to get involved into kind of code making into the process, because in case there's a draft which is in public domain, we give it to the members, try to get their comments, and then give it back to BAS so that we are updated on what the standards are. And that's again a very important thing. And the other thing what we come up a few years back was on Suraksha Index. We're still to launch it officially, but that is the star rating for buildings, which we kind of quite probably would launch it officially very soon, because we have done some trial runs on buildings where we give a star rating to a building. If it is good, if they've got all the fire safety standards in place, then their rating is kind of quite probably full. Like their exits, all the NBC, whatever the rules are, we take that into the entire thing on how we evaluate the system on Suraksha Index. So that's another very important thing we do. And we have a lot of conclaves. We hold exhibitions so that people are aware about what's happening. These are a few of the things that we do. Right now, there are quite a few plans we have. It's going to be very exciting times because I'm pretty excited to be taking over from Suresh, because the amount of work Suresh and before him Pankaj Dalkar, the people they have done and taken FSA to new heights with 23 chapters all around India, it is going to be a real tough time. So I'm looking forward to all your support. And thank you again for coming over. And it's absolutely amazing to see all of you here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Moving ahead, as a token of gratitude towards our dignitaries, we would like to felicitate them. So I request Mr. Nitin Joshi to felicitate our special guest, Dr. Deepak Mahisekar. Now I would like to request Shri Kiran Gowde to felicitate our guest of honor, Shri Santosh Warik. I now request Ms. Archana Ghawane to come forward and felicitate our guest of honor, Shri Vikas Dhakne. That's it. Oh. Thank you, everyone. We are highly delighted today to have with us Honorable Dr. Deepak Mahisekar. He is currently working as an advisor to Honorable Chief Minister of Maharashtra and as a chief convener for COVID-19. He has a vast experience in working in government services in different capacities and has served several positions like Deputy Secretary, Chief Executive Officer, Collector, Chairman, and then Divisional Commissioner of Pune. I request Dr. Deepak Mahisekar to come forward and share a few words with us. Please, sir.
Good evening, everybody. The chief guest for today, Mr. Santosh Warikji, the Director of Maharashtra Fire Services, Ajit Raghavan, the National President, Vikas Dhakne, the Additional Municipal Commissioner of Pimpri-Chinchwad, Kiran Gawande, the Chief Fire Officer of PCMC, Suresh Menon, who is the past President, and Archana Gawane, the Secretary, and of course Joshi, Nitin Joshi, the Pune President or this chapter's President. In fact, it gives me a pleasure to be amongst you. They forgot to mention one important role in which I am associated with you all. I am presently working as the chairman of the Expert Appraisal Committee for Environment for the rest of Maharashtra except Konkan and Mumbai. And therefore, most of the projects, the high-rise or otherwise, which are crossing 20,000 square meter limit, would come for clearance to me. Residential, official, all the projects. And the projects which are 150,000 square meter more, they would be going for environment impact assessment. And ultimately they come to us for presentation, which we do take. For last 2 years, we had been doing it online because of course, COVID. You may be surprised, in spite of being advisor for COVID, I'm not utilizing a mask. There are two reasons for it. I already had a COVID just 2 months back. And the variant that is prevailing now everywhere, B1, B2, and a combination of it, XE. In the initial phase, when the third wave came, it was B1. Later on, it was replaced by B2. And now we are finding whatever we are finding in the Western world, it is the combination of two, that is XE variant, the new variant. And I already had my booster as well as all 2 doses. So I have enough hybrid immunity. So I'm not bothering much. I had a severe COVID in January. That's the reason I'm not wearing the mask. And apart from that, the government also took a cautious decision of not making it mandatory or compulsory. But we still advise we should use. I have one in my pocket when everybody saw nobody is using it. So I removed mine. They said, "Nahi, sir, aap akele odd man out rahenge," to nikal diya. So that's the way we are looking at it. I had been associated with this fire when I was Deputy Secretary Urban Development. Prior to that, I was Municipal Commissioner Nanded for almost 4 years. And I saw fire department doing their duties. When I was Municipal Commissioner Nanded, we had an earthquake swarm, just like Khandwa. There are 2 or 3 only known or recorded episodes in Indian this thing. In a span of 11 months, we had more than 400 earthquakes, minor, ranging from 0.3 Richter scale to 4.2 max. And there was a great swarm. And the firefighting department was moving around all the way. Nanded is on the banks of Godavari. So every alternate day we have flood, alternate year. The year I joined as municipal commissioner, within 3 weeks, we had one of the worst flood. 22,000 families had to be shifted. Again, fire department played a major role, taking out the people from flooded areas, escorting them out. So, and after that, it so happened I was met Deputy Secretary Urban Development when Mr. Warik used to meet me. I was in the drafting of this Fire Act 2006 and rules under it. So I was associated with that as well. And now, even after retirement also, I'm associated with this fire because of this expert appraisal committee, wherein we look for the disaster management plan is one of the main aspects when we construct a high-rise building. Whether the refuge areas are properly provided, whether the calculation is properly done. If I'm not wrong, 0.3 square meter per person and 1.2 additional for a physically challenged person, whether it is kept there, whether the road around the building or path around building is sufficient enough to ensure free movement of the fire tender so that we can rescue the people in case of emergency. Whether the UGT is properly constructed, whether there is a sufficient or whatever prescribed requirement of water in that UGT is provided or not, underground tank. What is the escape distance so that in case of fire a person can travel? The NBC allows 22.5 only, except when you have sprinklers, it is 1.5 times more. That is 33 meters. So whether that is properly provided or not, all these aspects, swept path analysis, whether it has been carried out, whether there is a turning radius available for the fire tender when it is moving around the building, whether it is sufficient or not. All these minor details we are looking into. And sometimes we refer it back if the provisions are not proper, if proper 6 meters road or the path is not kept. In fact, I was discussing with Mr. Gowde and some other, I think, the Pune, Ranpise. They were requesting for 7.5, if I'm not wrong. Minimum, that's what. But unfortunately, the Act and rules have not yet been modified accordingly, so that the fire tender could move freely, and in case of fire, it would be easy to evacuate the people. So these are some of the aspects, including fire hydrants and other things, we are finding out. We are, appraising it. And if it is not up to expectation, we are returning them back. In municipal corporation areas, the fire officers, they do give. In PMR area, you do give as director fire. The NOCs come to us, fire NOCs come to us. And we do check whether the fire NOCs are as per the NBC volume 4, 16, that is about fire safety. So whatever is provided in National Building Code and our Fire Act, may it be width of the stairs, may it be the escape route, all these aspects we are looking at. And once we are convinced it is up to the standard, or sometimes we do give some input, we do suggest, and we do tell that there could be some modification in this. With those modifications, the building could be more safe for a person who is going to reside there. As far as commercial and mixed-use buildings are concerned, there are different concerns, there are different issues. Because in a commercial building, what is going to be there is what is more important. Whether there is going to be inflammable material, may it be furniture, may it be paper stock, or may it be plastic. What is required for a fire? Just an ignition, then sufficient fuel or the combustion material, and of course, oxygen. So if these three are, their ingredients are there, the fire hazards are likely to be maximum. And how do we save people? How do we ensure their safety is the concern. I recollect when I was studying in colleges, I studied in Mumbai. At that point of time, I had seen a movie called Towering Inferno. That was a very famous movie in those days. And one of the best movies I have seen. A high-rise building, when it gets, I think, US or UK, I don't know, the country where it was shown or filmed. But the way the fire department responds to it, it's a wonderful movie. One must definitely see it. If you are in that department, you must see it. It's worth seeing that movie. So that was the movie when I saw it when I was studying in college. It made a deep impact on my mind. And later on, it was the destiny that I was associated with the fire department in various capacities during my career. Even as divisional commissioner, the high-rise building, now it has been scrapped off under new UDPCR. Otherwise, high-rise building above 70 meters used to come to me for clearance. There used to be a committee headed by the divisional commissioner, wherein any building above 70 meters used to come to us for clearance. Generally, we call it high-rise 15 meters plus, and we provide for additional safeguards. The different standards make it 24, 20, but basically 15 plus, we call it a high-rise, and try to ensure that sufficient precautions are taken as far as fire hazards are concerned. I wouldn't be taking much of the time because Mr. Warik would be speaking in detail, more details than me. I once again thanks the organizer for giving me an opportunity to interact with you. Jai Hind, Jai Maharashtra.
Thank you so much, sir. It was pleasure hearing you. Moving forward, it is our honor that today we have with us Shri Vikas Dhakne as our special guest. He is the Additional Municipal Commissioner of PCMC. I request him to come forward and share his thoughts with us. Please, sir.
I think Honorable Deepak Mesekar sir, he has told that why he is not wearing mask. I think I should first clear that why I am wearing mask. By God's grace, I have not been yet touched with COVID, and due to some senior member in my family, I am taking precaution. Respected Deepak Mesekar sir, Santosh Warik sir, Director Maharashtra Fire Services, our energetic Chief Fire Officer, Sri Kiran Gowde, Nitin Joshi ji, Chapter President FSI, Archana Gawane ji, Ajit Yadav ji, Pooja Gaikwad ji, and all the dignitaries present here. On behalf of our municipal corporation, I am here. Actually, our municipal commissioner, Sri Rajesh Patil sir, he was supposed to attend this function, but due to one important meeting with Honorable Deputy Chief Minister, he could not make it here. First of all, I would like to thanks Fire and Security Association of India for organizing such a great event where all the stakeholders can come and consult each other's thoughts and move forward. Here I am seeing our interns also from our corporation, our electrical engineers, civil engineers from corporation. Then our honorable architects are also here, consultants are here, and all the stakeholders. This is very great initiative because without the help of all these stakeholders, government machinery cannot function. Since around 1 year, I am serving here as an additional municipal commissioner, and our Kiran Gaudeji, he has worked very well in Sangli floods also. Sir, I have seen him working very closely in many situations. Very big fire took place, I think 2-3 days back at our Moshi depot. So after this UDCPR, we have many times discussed moving forward with modern machineries, modern equipments. Our Kiran Gaudeji is very passionate about that. I must mention here. So as Maisekar sir has already told that why disaster management machinery is very important, and nowadays due to these earthquakes, flood situations, even I should say in COVID crisis also, many times we had to use our fire department and they helped very well. I'm very thankful to them. Once again, I'm thanking all of you for listening to me very patiently, and special thanks to our fire department and FSI for giving me opportunity to attend the function. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I would say that I am profusely elated as we have Honorable Director of Maharashtra Fire Services, Shri Santosh Varik, with us today as our guest of honor. Telling about him, he has 27 years of experience in the field of fire prevention and has served several positions in the MIDC Fire Services. He has got expertise in firefighting of various occupancies and implementation of fire prevention and life safety measures as per the National Building Codes of India. Also, I would love to say that even at this stature, he is a very humble person and a very good human being. And he has always helped FACI in all their activities wholeheartedly. So I now request Sri Santosh Varik to come forward and enlighten us with your knowledge.
Honorable Dr. Deepak Maisekar sir, Dhakne sir, Gaude sir, and FSI means Pune team and national level team. It's really wonderful program wherein all stakeholders are involved for knowledge sharing. And I'm really thankful to Deepak Maisekar sir because already he has given you the insight of part 4 of National Building Code from the fire prevention side of it. So I wish all municipal commissioners and divisional commissioners should be aware about that. The fire service will grow in the state in near future. So, so the way he has gathered knowledge, basically how you convert into future projects. So that is a really path he has provided us as a guideline. So fire services, as you are aware, as per the 13th Finance Commission report, the gap of fire services in terms of number of fire stations, number of fire appliances, and the trained manpower is more than 80% pan-India. So there is a huge gap, and in the 15th Finance Commission, almost 5,000 crores are allocated for the development of fire services in the country. So state government has also initiated when means after Fire Act implementation, we came up in 2009 with the separate scheme for the development of fire services in the state, Maharashtra Agni Suraksha Abhiyan, wherein we have provided funding for construction of fire station and the fire appliances to the municipal councils and Nagar Panchayat in the state. And there are few municipal corporations wherein the fire services are in good shape, but there are few municipal corporations, the situation is very very at the initial stage. No manpower, no machinery available over there. So in case of disaster, it becomes very difficult. As per the National Disaster Management Act 2005, the fire responsibility of the fire services has been increased as a fire and emergency services, wherein you are the first responders. Fire service will be the first responders for all types of disasters, including man-made and the natural disaster. So fire services has to be geared up with different types of machinery, or as well as the trained manpower. And training is a continuous process. Different kinds of things are coming up. Western coast, we have not faced that much kinds of cyclone, but since last 2 years, we have seen number of cyclones. So that is the additional pose. In coastal area, we experience landsliding. In Sangli and Kolhapur, we are experiencing floods. So there are a number of situations occurring across the state, and every fire services has to be geared so that the response mechanism should be there in place. So few days back only, Honorable CS sir has given these directives that to prepare a framework so that the response mechanism should be on paper at least, and the collectorate should be aware about it, how to minimize the response time of fire services in case of any disaster. So that is a positive side coming up in one of the NGT directives. This point was raised, response mechanism should be there in place. So the developments are happening, industrialization now happening, urbanization is happening. Maharashtra, almost 50% we have urbanization in place, and 50% population, they are staying in the municipal corporation areas and council areas. That is the plan areas, we can say. The major issues, as already highlighted in our educational system, unfortunately, we are not being taught about how to respond to any disaster, and in case of emergency, how to behave. So that is a major crux. We are not, means as a society, we are not prepared for it. So only option left is the training and awareness. And I am very much thankful to FSAI across the India. Through different chapters, they have made it mandatory to reach up to the colleges and schools. And I'm means here from Bhopal, some few fire officer is very much good trainer, Sajid Bhai. I must means appreciate him. The way he has doing the awareness for the country level, wherever the FSAI programs are happening, he goes and he try to give trainings and all that. The hats off to the passion of this person. The similar way, there are few persons, they really do wonderful job with the help of associations like FSAI and other associations. So my 30 years experience is, for the building, at the time of construction, what happens is the builders or architect, they wanted to have the maximum floor area usability that they plan. Once that is planned, sometimes they overlook or side look the fire safety aspects. What already Maisekar sir told, compartmentation, travel distance, location of refuge area, something at the backside where my aerial ladder platform will not reach. अरे कौन देखेगा, वो एलिवेशन खराब हो रहा है, पीछे डाल दो उसको. So it is of no use to me. So that in case of real emergency, my aerial ladder platform has to be pitched from the external side, and there is no sufficient space provided over there. So how can I reach to that external refuge area? So that is the issue. Then second is, whatever builder services provided, they are the minimum ones. क्या 2 BHK है ना, 2 BHK में 2 AC जाएगा, किचन में क्या फ्रिज, टीवी, माइक्रोवेव हो जाएगा. जो मिनिमम है वो कैलकुलेशन करके MSCB को दे दो, and the minimum transformer load, this load, that load. Once the possession is taken by the occupant, immediately he will put AC in halls, dishwashers, these additional gadgets will come up, and the load of that room becomes more. And the way we are facing high-rise building up to 70 meters unified DCPR, it will be common for all municipal corporations. So considering all these flats load, after 2-3 years, definitely there will be overloading and the short circuit will happen and the fire will start. And second important thing is the interiors. The way at least minimum 15 to 20 lakhs rupees minimum spent for the internal furnishing with all wooden and upholstery tapestries. So that is a fuel for fire. So anything goes wrong in any of the room, that will be immediately spread across the flat. And it is a huge potential load. So false ceilings, the the workmanship of electricians, the joints, these are the major culprits in case of fire, for as a cause of fire. The second major issue what we have experienced is the maintenance of the fire protection systems and the designing also. The majority of the fire license which comes to us, they are requesting only for the sprinkler waivers. They are taking jobs from industries or some warehouse industries or something कि आप मुझे स्प्रिंकलर रिलैक्स करके दे दो, उसका कॉस्ट ज्यादा है, बाकी हम लोग प्रोवाइड कर देंगे. So that attitude is very much not accepted. Sprinklers are the best system which is accepted across the globe for the detection and automatic in nature for controlling and quenching of fire. So the sprinklers for high-rise buildings should be must. Another very good feature is the fire tower, which is considering the 70 meters and above buildings, the firefighters are human beings. They are not supermen. So for reaching them on upper floor easily, this is the safe passage provided with alternate power supply, including a fire lift and fire escape staircase with fire door. There is a 2 level of protection. One is from common area, you have to enter in fire lift lobby or fire tower with fire door. Again, in that lift lobby, again fire door is provided for the fire escape staircase. So it is a double fire doors are provided, and all these areas are pressurized, lift lobbies and all. So no heat and smoke can enter in this lobby. So it is a safe passage for the evacuation also, guided evacuation for firefighters also. Firefighters can take control of this lift and can evacuate the occupant with using the lift. Also, my firefighters can reach beyond certain heights because you cannot expect them to climb down 22 floors and do the firefighting. So they can use this lift properly and reach at that point and do the firefighting. So these are the few features which are very important from the fire and life safety point of view of the building. So as a long term, the building sustainability, maintenance of this system is very much important. Fire Act says we do not have that much manpower to carry out inspection of each and every building. So as an extended arm of fire service, we have entrusted this responsibility to the license agencies. And it is expected that the license agency should carry out the maintenance of all these systems, right from fire hydrant, sprinklers, smoke detection system, alarm system, in a proper way as specified in the respective Indian standards. And they should take the signatures of that owner or occupier and submit the Form B in the month of January and July every year to the local fire services, so that fire services will be assured that in case of real emergency, the system will work and the minimum losses to the life and property can be controlled. So that is the total intent of the act. But unfortunately, few license agencies sitting in their offices, they sign the Form B and the systems are not maintained properly. So that we have found out in some agency. Some agencies or some people, they have fraudulently submitted the Form B. So we are now making it digitally signed and we are making the provision to upload on the respective site. So that is the dream plan is we have as for the after removal of octroi, we are totally municipal corporations, they are depending upon the property tax. So majority of municipal corporations, they have done the GIS mapping of the city and they have identified each and every building having OC or what. So we wanted to have the layers of fire systems on this GIS-based data, so that we will find out whether they have taken a provisional fire NOC or final fire NOC, or whether they have submitted the form B or not. So these are the tools which we can implement in future. Also, Mr. Joshi has developed a fire tweet kind of a activity IoT based platform, which can be also utilized for the certain types of building where occupant load is more, or hospitals are there, malls are there, high-rise buildings are there, business buildings are there, five-star hotels are there. So wherein we can monitor the system from any part of the world. Anything goes wrong, alarm can be generated and it can be pass on to that respective persons or key responsible persons. So that is a good platform already created, and number of people, they are utilizing it now. So it is a stable platform, and we really wanted to implement it for a certain type of building. So as all stakeholders, that may be right from the planning board, that is from architects, developers, builders, consultants, then all service providers, HVAC, electrical ones, water, plumbing, everyone should do their job wholeheartedly. Then only we can create a safe environment for the society to work or to stay. So that should be our bottom line. And fire, it is not avoidable, but by awareness and by consciousness of the people, that chalta hai attitude should be removed, and we have to really look at everything seriously. What can go wrong at my workplace or wherever I am staying? So if everyone should have at least one fire extinguisher in their home, so start that from your home itself, then it will go to your children, and automatically that safety culture will build up. So considering the future requirement, I urge you that you should really think about fire safety seriously at your workplaces, also at your residence. So we can build safe Bharat. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your insightful words. Moving towards a different segment of today's program, we would like to felicitate the awardees for their exceptional achievements. Fire and Security Association of India congratulates Shri Kiran Gowde on his well-deserved and most prestigious honor, President's Fire Service Medal, for meritorious service of 35 lengthy years. We are truly proud of you, sir, and hearty congratulations to you. I request Mr. Ajit Raghavan to felicitate Shri Kiran Gowde. Thank you. It is no great surprise that a firefighter's job is highly demanding and dangerous, wherein a person risks his own life to save someone else's life. Today, we will recognize the bravery of such firefighters. Bravery shown in the face of adversity, bravery that was shown in an unexpected moment, and that was truly inspiring. So put your hands together to welcome these brave firemen, Mr. Chetan Mane and Mr. Lakshman Howare. On 20th of August 21, a mud house collapsed in Devkar Chal, Fugewadi, Pune. Fire brigade of PCMC reached the location immediately and came to know that a small girl is stuck inside the collapsing house. Risking their own lives, they continued to rescue her and were successful after 4 hours. We salute to your bravery, sir. I request Mr. Ajit Raghavan and Mr. Suresh Menon to present them with the Bravery Award. Thank you. Though firefighting has been predominantly a male profession, women have made inroads in both professional and volunteer fire departments. Despite making up a small portion of the fire service members, women have climbed the ladder, both literally and figuratively, and have inspired each one of us. So today we will felicitate first such female troop of firefighters of PCMC to motivate all other females out there, as no job is reserved for any specific gender. With a thundering round of applause, I take this opportunity to welcome the women firefighters on stage. Snehal Raising, Pallavi Zagare, Smita Gaurkar, Payal Nalat, Darshana Patil, Sanika Surve, Shweta Gaikwad, Sonali Sabale, Priyanka Dharam, Dhanashri Bagul, Sonal Gengje, Manisha Gauri. I now request Ms. Archana Ghavane to come forward and felicitate our Agni Raginis. I request our Agni Raginis to please stay on the stage. We want to take a photo of you with all our dignitaries. Thank you so much for inspiring us. We all are very proud of you. Moving forward, one society of Moshi, Pune has done a highly commendable job by understanding the severity of the situation and taking the necessary steps on 11th of March 22 as their building catch the fire. They took the immediate steps even before the fire brigade reached the spot and controlled the situation as far as possible. This was possible only because of the fire safety awareness they had and the efficient firefighting system. The name of this society is Kesar Tree Town Housing Society. Let us welcome on stage the representatives of this society, Mr. Gauri, Mr. Kasture, Mr. Patil, Mr. Sonune, and Mr. Narhare with a big round of applause. I request Shri Kiran Gowde and Mr. Nitin Joshi to come forward and present them with the token of appreciation. I request the representatives to stay on stage. We want to take a photo of you with all the dignitaries. Sir. Thank you. Now, before moving further, I request all the organizers to join the stage for a group photo with all the dignitaries. I request Ms. Anuja Karu, Amol Umbarze, Pooja Gaikwad, Sujol Shah, Nitin Joshi, Archana Ghavane, Anand Gadekar, Ajit Yadav, Simple Jain, Dada Saheb Gaikwad, Triloknath Tiwari, Mahesh Ghavane, and Shashank Kulkarni to come forward. I request the firemen, Mr. Lakshman Howale and Mr. Chetan Mane to please join the stage. We want to take a photo of you with all the dignitaries. Thank you so much. May I now request all the dignitaries to please occupy their seats in front of the dais, as we will be moving forward with our knowledge sessions now. We will now start with our first knowledge session on the topic Fire Safety Challenges in High-Rise Building, which will be followed by a panel discussion. To present this knowledge session, we have Honorable Mr. Vilas Gaikwad, who has spent nearly 21 years handling various projects from India and Dubai and has 17 years of experience in designing and consulting. He is also the founder member of EMEA MEP Consultant, which completed more than 300 projects, including overseas, like GM, JCB, Emerson, IIT Hyderabad, ISER Pune, etc. In Dubai, he was involved in big and high quality projects like Emirates Towers, Dubai International Air, Dubai Marina Mall, etc. I request him to join the stage and share his valuable knowledge with us. Please, sir.
Good evening to all of you, respected Deepak Maskar sir, Santosh Barik sir, Mr. Ajit Raghavan, and Mr. Nitin Joshi. Thank you very much to FSI Pune who make this stage, who give me this opportunity to present me here. Basically, I am going to present basic requirements of the high-rise buildings. What are the challenges in the high-rise building from MEP perspective point of view? So I will just give my slide presentation here. First of all, what is a high-rise building? There are too many concepts about the high-rise building. So in India, high-rise building 15 meters and above is to be known as a high-rise building. And as per the NFPA, it is 23 meters and above. But in India, we are following NBCC. So as per the NBCC norms, we are following 15 meters and above is a high-rise building, irrespective of its occupancy in high-rise buildings. The challenges in high-rise buildings, the main challenges are in the high-rise buildings are the compliances of various norms, then violations of fire and safety norms as a lot. Failure of selection of material adhering of fire system standards, lack of awareness of fire hazards, difficult evacuation process, access to firefighters and rescue teams. In the compliance of various norms, which is covering environment clearance norm, local CFO officer certification, aviation department clearance, then MOD, that is Ministry of Defense certification, UDPCR, CDPCR. Next is what is the violations of fire and safety norm, like requirement of dedicated fireman lift, which is not happening in so many buildings. Same passenger lift can be used during fire condition for the evacuation, and which create a lot of fire accidents. Then blockage of emergency exit spaces are using as a storage. That is also one sort of violation of the fire norm. Then the most of the building has to be, there are single exits for the staircase. So as per the, as per the NBC, there are two staircase exits required, but most of places it is not provided. So it is also one violation of the fire norm. Then building without NOC. Most of places building is ready, it is given to the occupant, but there is no certification building NOC from the municipality, PCMC or PMT or the competent authority. That is also one sort of violation of the fire norms. Then the firework near to the building. Most of the places, due to some reason, firework taking place near the building. It should not happen. So that is also one of the violation of the fire norms. Then failure of selection of material adding to fire safety standards. So basically, this is also important factor in the material adhering to fire safety norms, like the walls, the door between flats, stairs and corridors are specially designed to fire resistant, maybe 120 minutes or 2 hours fire rated. The electrical cables, wire for various factors, HVAC duct insulation, fire tanks and fire pump size and quantity and the capacity. This is also one of the important aspects in the selection of the material. And the fourth point is lack of awareness of fire hazards. So there are too many reasons. A lot of people doesn't know what is the reason for the fire hazard. Out of that, some few air occupant is not aware about the fire causes. Most of the occupants, they don't know what is the reason for the fire hazards. So like false ceiling, wooden furniture and carpets. These are the one of the areas having the very low flash point and which create the fire. This thing to be, minutely looking while doing the interior designing. The kitchen fire from unattended cooking. In so many flats or so many occupants, unattended cooking is done, and so that is also one of the cause for creating the fire. Then overloading of electrical equipment, poorly maintained or defective. Most of the things, Mr. Warik already told in his speech, a lot of things, lot of electric, most of the buildings are carrying it, 70% load is pertaining to air conditioning. And while designing, that factor is not considered. So naturally, whatever the designs of the electric cables, wire switchgear is getting overloaded, and that is getting the fire due to the heat for insulation, it takes fire, and that is also one of the important reasons. The high combustible nature of room content due to more plastic and cellulose-based material in modern houses. This will be avoided for the most of the building. They always keep matchsticks away from the children. This is the small reason, but this is also catch a fire. The children shall be keep away from the matchstick. Smoking on the bed. This is habitual. Some people they're smoking on the bed. Sometimes that may be reason to catch the fire. This is also one of the reasons for the hazard of fire. The next question is difficult evacuation process. In the most of the building, it is the most important activity when the fire takes place. Evacuation, where there is no certain leader to guide to the occupant how to do, what to do in this condition. So this is it's very important. The main important is difficult evacuation. Out of the delayed in evacuation, there are too many reasons. People may not be aware from which is the exit gate, which is the fire gate, which is the safety door. So there is some proper direction is required during the fire condition in the building. The total evacuation less time may not be possible. During the fire techniques is too much more, and the less time fire evacuation is hardly impossible for high-rise building, 15 meters, 25 meters, or 70 meters, or even 120 meters also. So this is also one of the reasons in which a lot of casualty taking place. The failure of detection and announcement system, since most of the time these are not operational during the fire condition. Most of the building fire detection and the announcement system has been bypassed due to the nuisance operation because exact fault is not clear. In most of the places there is no water in the tanks. So even though these things have to be checked. The use of normal passenger lift. See, most of the fire condition, people are not aware which is the fire lift and which is the normal lift. So it is to be clearly defined in the building, which is the normal and which is the fire lift. So during the fire condition, normal lift, wherever it stands, wherever the landing, it has to come on the ground floor landing, and then thereafter each power supply will be switched off. Only fireman lift has to be in operational. The reaching of firefighter on time due to the various reasons. There are too many reasons. Even though Even though if we inform to fire department, the tender has to come, then there's a problem in the road speed, traffic junction. During the fire condition, local administration has to take some important decision for the, it should be ensured the firefighters with the tenders has to be reached at site, at the fire location. Only during the fire condition, one conclusion is that the escape through staircase should be given more importance as it can ensure more occupant evacuation than any other evacuation procedure. Hence, the width of the in the NBC, the width of the fire width is defined 1.2 meter, 1.5 meter, and the two exit staircase are there. That is to be used more efficiently during the fire condition. Then third point is access to firefighter and rescue team. This is very, very important because when the fire team came to the location, they don't know what is the architectural view of that building, what is the plan, which is the access. So this is to be one of the important challenge for them. So access to fire tenders are allocated due to the width of road. They may not be reached with the width of road. There are some areas where the even fire tender cannot go, where the width of the road is 3 meters, 4 meters. So this is also one of the challenge for us. Then the traffic congestion priority shall be given during incident by local administration. Then lock up proper equipment like fire hose rail, ladder length, etc. The normal ladder cannot be worked for the high-rise building about 15 meter, 25 meter. So that is also one of the aspects for the firefighter and rescue team. Then fire accident, this is the loss of human life, loss of property and business, environmental impact. This all of we know what is the impact of the fire accident. Then cause of fire high-rise building. So most of one of the reports, 69 to 70% accident taking place due to electrical short circuit. There are too many reasons for the electrical short circuit. Basically, selection of the switch gear, selection of the wire type, cable type, it is FRLS, ZH, zero halogens, which cannot be created any halogens, so people will not go suffocation. So most of the time, the casualty taking place due to the smoke. So smoke is the important factor. So selection of the wires and cables is very important in electrical short circuit. Then the storage of flammable material. So in the building, in the residential building or any building, storage of flammable material should not be kept like paint or chemical storage or batteries. All this should not be kept in the building. The use of combustible material during construction stage and by residents in their home. So a lot of combustible material means like cotton, paper. This should not be stored in the residents at their home. Then the gas leakage. Gas leakage is also one of the important factors during the fire condition. So there is not 100% protection in the individual occupant has been developed so far to prevent the gas leakage on the individual occupant. Then the improper security measures of prevent acts of vandalism and riot. This has to be taken care by the building security system. So this point should not be taken over. Now, why NBC? So in India, we are following National Building Code. So why NBC only? Because in India, when the fire takes place, there are different agencies like fire department, like police department, like insurance, and like other departments. They are looking different angle to the fire incident. NBC is such a standard which is bringing all authorities at the one platform. So NBC is to be strictly followed in India. I mean, so as per Part 4, National Building Code of India covers the requirement of fire prevention, life safety in relation to fire and fire protection of building. The code specifies occupancy-wise classification and protection features that are necessary to minimize the danger of life and property from fire. The MEP aspect of NBC. Basically, these services should adhere to the norms made by NBC. These are the three important services. Without these services, building cannot be complete. Building cannot be function. There is electrical service, firefighting, alarm and smoke detection, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. These are the main important services in the building. So the electrical services, whenever we are doing any plan, I mean with the architect, is always priority. That way I can say here, priority is not that much seriously given to the electrical substation or electrical layout size-wise access point of view. This point has to be very important from the design stage itself. So electrical equipment like transformer and panel shall Transformer requires special, oil trap transformer at least required 6 by 6 meter open space. Electrical equipment like transformer and panel shall be allocated at neat and clean places. It shall have the access to the nearest emergency exit. The DG set shall not be not installed on any floor or shall be prepared in open area. The transformer, if installed indoor, shall be dry type or have ester oil. There is a transformer nowadays with the ester oil transformer having a flash point around 650 degrees Celsius can be installed indoor transformer. So having the equivalent to the dry type transformer characteristics. Electrical cabling system which shall be FRLS ZX type. So during fire condition, the zero halogen will not create any suffocation and the smoke. So an emergency power shall be then another concept. An emergency power shall be fed to emergency and life safety system like fire pump, pressurization and smoke venting, fireman lift, fire alarm, public address system, emergency light and exit signing. Minimum emergency supply, the providing the dedicated generator is must for this equipment 24 by 7 hour, 24 by 7. Then another aspect about the high-rise building is the ventilation and air conditioning system. In India, most of the high-rise building, this ventilation and basically ventilation area is not so far concentrated in as per the NBC guidelines. Basically, implementation of smoke extraction system is very important in any building. Separate AHU air handling unit for each floor for isolation between two floors and prevent further spread of fire. This is also a very important point for each floor. Implementing AHU system with proper fire damper. Non-combustible type material shall be non-combustible material shall be used in the system. Most of the places this point is also not taken care properly by the HVAC contractor. So the non-combustible material must be used in the HVAC duct system. Pressurization system for staircase, lift well, and lift lobby is a must. It is one of the life safety equipment in the during fire condition. The interlocking of HVAC system with fire alarm to shut off the HVAC system in the event of fire. This is also one of the important aspects in the ventilation of the high-rise building. Then fire hydrant and fire alarm and detection system. This is the third category, which is very, very important for any building. That is the fire hydrant, fire alarm and detection system. So providing fire hydrant and sprinkler as per local NBC guideline. NBC guideline is clearly defined what is the designing required for the fire sprinkler as area wise and floor wise. Providing sprinkler in key areas like parking, common areas. In case of high-rise residential building, provide sprinkler in clubhouse, lobby, and in each house. Providing automatic smart fire detection, alarm, and public address system. Providing manual call point at key place for allowing manual alarm rising of fire. Providing proper escape route chart and fire extinguisher at key places. Providing centralized fire command center. Most of the buildings in Mumbai nowadays is providing centralized fire command center is providing, but still the city like Pune or Pune, still this is to be implicated. This implication is required. So all the in fire command center, it will monitor whether the HVAC system, electrical system, fire alarm system, pressurization system is working or not properly. Something goes wrong, the command center will inform to the concerned MEP service head of the building. Fire hazard prevention. Carry out timely safety audit by authorized third-party auditor agency, giving proper knowledge of fire hazard to the facility management of high-rise building. Need to educate and train the facility management in different aspects like operation of manual call points for fire extinguisher, timely monitoring the operation of fire pump, sprinkler, water level in fire tank, fire alarm system, ventilation and smoke extraction system, access control door, panic bar, fire lift, and emergency diesel generator system. The next, conducting mock drill with participation of all the stakeholders of high-rise building is a must. Thank you all. This is the presentation from my side about the fire. I am just giving.
Thank you so much, sir. Moving forward to our first panel discussion, I would now like to invite all the panelists on the stage. Architect Manoj Tatuskar. He has 24 years of rich experience in core domain and is the founder of architectural consultancy firm A&T Consultant. Shri Kiran Gowde has lengthy experience of working in firefighting, high-rise rescue, floods, building collapses, chemical leakages, and disaster management. He introduced the first in state female fighters as apprentice trainees in fire department. Mr. Dhananjay Apte, BTech in Marine Engineering, is working in the field of MEP consultancy for the last 22 years and is presently having a company named Architectural Energy Solutions Private Limited. Ms. Nikita Ghai, Business Development Manager from Bonton Cables. Mr. Chintu Asher, who is the Chair of Fire Training FACI Mumbai Chapter and National Vice Chair of Event and Programs. He is also the founder and managing director of XBus Fire and Security Private Limited. I welcome all the panelists on the stage.
Mr. Manoj Tatoskar, sir. Yeah. Shall we start? So today's this panel discussion is especially for the fire safety challenges in the high-rise building, architectural point of view, builder point of view, MEP point of view, fire safety point of view, system integrator point of view, the OEM equipment point of view, and main important firefighting point of view. So in this regard, my first question to Mr. Manoj Tatoskar sir, pertaining to this high-rise buildings. As an architect, how do you plan safety in high-rise building, and what are the challenges in achieving the most optimum design? Which statutory norm you need to follow while planning the building, like EC, aviation, MOD, UDP, sir, CDP, etc.
Uh, High-rise building is nothing new to us. In last 10 to 15 years, the building industry totally transformed from low-rise high density to high-rise high density. High-rises as per NBC is 15 meters and above, but we used to do those buildings previously. Today, for example, if I say I have a typical 6 core type of building where I have 6 tenements per floor, and the building goes up to 100 meters or 30 floors above. Arithmetically, on a plinth area of nearly 6,000 square feet, a total construction of 1,80,000 square feet is loaded. If we think in terms of occupancy load, almost 900 occupants are living in like 6,000 square feet of plinth area. That's a very huge load. I always believe avoiding any accident is always better, but when we plan for any campus, we have both the remedies, active ones and passive ones. The passive ones comes first, and there the role of planning comes in. So the passive strategies are, when we say we follow NBC, obviously orientation of the building, placement of the building is very important. The first thing is the access road. As we say, minimum 12-meter wide access road is required. The second thing is the surroundings of the building. The surrounding has to take a load of 18,000 kgs of that fire engine that has to move around very easily. Even though rule says 6 meters fire drive is required, I always advise to have 7.5 or more, wherein the type of machinery or type of fire engines those are used with snorkels and ladders that require at some places it requires minimum 9 meters width with their clamps on the ground. So the margins is very important thing as far as fire engine movement is concerned. When we say we have 900 people staying in a 6,000 square feet of plinth area, the most crucial part, as equivalent and as important as planning a unit or planning a floor plan, is planning the parking. So parking is maybe for those 900 unit, maybe 500 cars. So there's a big bomb living at the bottom of the building, beneath the building in the basements and podiums. So like parking movement, ramps, placement of ramps, minimum 2 number of ramps at 2 opposite ends. So these are the basics that I would say that we have to follow. When we come to a typical floor or a floor plan of a building, the most important thing is width of passage and fire exit, width of fire exit. The occupancy load has to be thought, and occupancy load has to be decided, even if it's a residential building or it's a mixed building. Mixed occupancy buildings are, they are very predominant nowadays. We have malls and theater, we have offices and malls, we have commercial offices and residential building. So mixed occupancies have different problems altogether. Fire movement and evacuation plan has to be thought of. Evacuation plan is very important in case of fire. Even though I have seen in most of the places, there is no thought of evacuation plan as such while planning. So that is very important, because in case of eventuality, the person who is living on that floor or in that building has to be evacuated. Fire staircase is very placement of fire staircase, which gives access to, like, it has multiple use. One is access to the firemen to throughout the height of the building, but simultaneously evacuating in case of emergency, because the fire staircase is pressurized and it is separated by 2-door system and a separate lobby which is smoke free. So evacuation is very important thing in planning total building thing. Apart from these NBC's norms and guidelines, we have environmental clearance that we have to take. Even though we have these NOCs of local authorities with us while we approach to environmental authorities, most of the things are seen and checked there. There's a best thing, there's a good thing that's happening. Height is one thing that is adding up to the, we have new UDCPR in place, and this UDCPR is giving us tremendous potential in plots or lands. Previously, on the lands where we used to have maybe a 1 acre plot, we might used to, construct 100 tenements or maybe 1 lakh square feet of sellable area in terms. There we are having almost 3 lakh square feet, 3.5 lakh square feet. So this load is tremendous. The density of population is growing like anything. And we can't expect firemen or fire department to reach every place and easily evacuate all the residents of the premises. So I think its first priority and primary responsibility of planner as an architect is to have all the systems in place so as to not only have a good architectural building but safe building also. In that context, all the systems like fire sprinkler systems or fire alarm system, those are to be placed and checked periodically whether they are running properly, because any fire that happens or that takes place later and converts it into a huge fire, that's a spark, maybe a small spark at the beginning. So any fire that's seized at the smaller stage is always better to, handle it on a later stage when it takes a huge place. Also, we have to understand when we talk about high-rise buildings, um, the fire and the smoke rises on the upward movement on the upper floors. So the immediate next floor or the another next floor, that's at that maximum risk zone. New structural norms are quite stringent as far as high-rise buildings are concerned. We have seen the collapse of twin towers in America, where the building was structured with only steel member, or it was a steel building, and that heat almost it made the structure melt, and it helped in collapse of the building. So new structural norms here we have are quite good as far as safety or against collapse of the building, against fire. So these are the general guidelines or general things that we take care of while planning.
Thank you, sir. Now the next question is pertaining to AEP services. So, Sanjay Apte, sir, what are the challenges faced in AEP services from higher safety point of view?
Good evening, all. Yeah,
Question is that what are the challenges faced in AEP services from higher safety point of view?
there are many challenges, and look at it very differently. First is it starts with planning. It goes with planning from right beginning with architecture, RCC, as well as AEP. If adequate space are indicated, we get them in advance. The planning makes first, which is very important. Second challenge you find is that most of this being like that, still we see the fire exit is because despite having all the facilities of sprinkler systems, hydrogen, passive, active, smoke extraction, we find that the service point of view, the operation point of view, there is no coordination. Third point which I see is that the residents also needs to be aware of it. And it is not only a living activity, it is a matter of responsibility. So the responsibility is missing, whereby it starts with again planners as well as developers. And apart from that, a system needs to be incorporated where the periodic checking from local authority to a residential point of view, because it is going to have impact on their own life, we say. So these points I think are most important when we are talking about higher building. And if we address this, anyone, just to add on, as we say, fire is a triangle, but it used to be a triangle, there is no more triangle. It's a chain reaction. But the chain reaction in this building activity happens only through electrical appliances. Even with again budget, and then again we go back to a compromise. So what happens is all this goes with responsibility. The responsibility starts with planning and ultimately to developer, and then lastly it goes with the occupants. So I think these are the challenges. If we are able to address this, I am very sure whatever we think about of 50, 60 years of life safety, it will have. It can, the buildings will sustain with available resources.
Thank you, Professor. Then, my question to Madam. Basically, you are on the table, right? So, what is the role of thermal cable? Different cable with avoiding fire to building. What will be the possible result for 35%?
So we are all talking about fire alarm systems, water sprinkler pumps, ventilation fans, etc. But we forget that everything that keeps it running are the cables. So till I think few years back, nobody was talking about fire survival cables. Then NBC 2016 introduced fire survival cables or circuit integrity cables, as we put it, so that these systems are running during the course of fire. So because of the cables that can withstand 950 degrees Celsius for 3 hours, these systems can run in case of fire. So if there is fire, your pumps are working, your fire alarm systems are working, your exit signages are working, fire alarm lifts are working. And if these things are working properly, so the evacuation can be done in a more systematic manner. So it is very important that with the systems we use proper backend support to these systems so that the systems are running basically.
One more small question to you.
Yeah.
What are the typical manufacturing for each cable which may need to find?
So yeah, there are various faults that can occur, which we also take care from our end. So insulation thickness can be one of it. Proper taping of fire tapes, armoring. So manufacturing has a lot of loopholes, but if it is manufactured properly and tested properly, then I don't think there can be a problem with the cable.
Then how do you want to differentiate the product compared to the product?
So we are how we are separate is that we are doing complete range of fire survival cables. So not just the armored cables, we have copper tube cables, we have unarmored cables, we have single wires which can withstand 950 degrees Celsius. Then we have in-house testing laboratory for both basic and enhanced categories. So I'll be explaining that in my presentation. That what is a basic fire survival cable, what is an enhanced category fire survival cable. And we are the only company in India right now which is NABL accredited lab for fire survival cable testing. So yeah.
Thank you. My next question is to Mr. What preparation should be taken to avoid the fire incident in the building? And second, supplementary question. What coordinates dependence you expect from other agencies with respect to safe access, safe evacuation roads, other free environment?
Thank you. Thank you, Director sir, for this question. As usual, you know the system integrator is coming last. How many system integrators will agree to this? So you know the pain, and I'm here to address your pain. So you know, if we are there right from the start, you know they expect us. You know they get us last in the project, and they expect us to finish up fast, like what you will expect. Yeah. To finish my talk. And then finally, I mean, the protocol has been maintained. Last would be the inspection, third would be concluding the talk. So we should be as an SI, I think we should be involved from the beginning, which will, because all of us are stakeholders, like, you know, when you design and plan, you know, any building or any occupancy, this is also being an important part. Because normally what happens is when we come to the project, everything is defined. At times the shafts are, you know, not given because that place is allocated to somebody else. And then when it comes to maintenance, I think some system installed over there. Then you know, isolation wall in the shaft is on the top. When during the project time, it was easy to install because we had the ladder. And when the operation guide comes, it becomes very difficult for them to maintain. So it is very important that we come together as stakeholders, and I'm sure system would be better. And also in terms of maintenance, I would urge all the end users not to go for the lowest. If you go peanuts, you get monkeys. Select the right person who has preferably done the job, because that also is mentioned in the Maharashtra Card Act, because they will be person who will be knowing the entire system. And when the project finishes, what happens with the operations guys? Or the facility management comes last. And they are expecting that, the panel has to be where they want. But the project guys have planned that, the panel has to be inside the cupboard, because it is planned that way. So, that proper communication and integration of all the stakeholders is very important. And we can create much more safer building as a team, as stakeholders. And to end this conversation, I would just like to, sum it up. तुम्ही पण चांगला, आम्ही पण चांगला. तुम्ही पण चांगला, माझ्या लाईफी चांगला, तुमच्या लाईफी चांगला. सिस्टम कधी लावणार किंवा साहेब सांगितला. Thank you very much.
Last question, very important to our DFO. As a chief fire officer, what according to you are real challenging experience as a fire officer?
Thank you. Thank you for this question. First, I would like to congratulate all of you for being here for such a lovely session. Especially this program and this training session was being conducted for the stakeholders, especially the system integrators, architects, fire licensing agencies, MEP consultants, and the most important, the common citizen, that is our housing federation societies. Because whatever today we are doing is towards the good faith of the society, and here our the main focus is the public, that is the high-rise building residents who are residing in such buildings. And that's why today we had also chose to give a special thanks, a memento, and felicitation for the buildings. I am coming to that point. That's why I'm just trying to tell you what I want to say actually. We had felicitated the buildings who had maintained their firefighting system. And not only that, above and ahead of that, they had taken into use the firefighting system and had extinguished the fire. So now coming to the point, what are the challenges? The challenges, I would say, we all are the challenges. The MVP consultant is a challenge, the architect is a challenge, the system integrator is a challenge, and the designer is also a challenge. So let me tell you one thing, what I had experienced within this over the period of service. There should be a coordination. So we are lacking the coordination, and that's a big challenge. Everybody is doing, as I personally feel, good towards the society, good towards the subject. But the problem of where we are lacking, we are not trying to understand, because of me, somebody else is coming in problem, or I am not taking into consideration his problem while designing the aspect. Because all these stakeholders are clubbed together when we say high-rise building. So now I would say, instead of high-rise building, now we should say high-rise thinking. Then and then only we will be able. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Then and then only we will be able to cope up with the problem. Challenges, to be very frank, as what already Honorable Director as well as ex-Divisional Commissioner had said, the basic challenges are very important challenges. It starts right from the abutting road to the gate and to the last point of the terrace. So many number of challenges are there, but then again, we are supposed to work with the challenges, but that challenges should not become a curb for the life safety, which nowadays we are facing, just because only of the thinking that we are more inclined towards the amenity rather than the requirement or rather than the need. Here I would say we should now think of the need and the requirement but not the amenity. Amenity should be given a less importance, and more importance should be given to the requirement and the need. Once we decide that this is needed, this is required, and amenity is not that much required, most of the problems will be solved. For example, if what Director Saab had said, there is a load calculation. Basically, electrical are the major problems or the major cause of the fire. And what happens is that, as what Director Saab had said, that is a major challenge. When we design a building, we take into consideration the load of the electricity, and that load is being calculated on some thumb rules. But then when it comes to the actual use, you give more and more load by the gadgets or by the way of deterioration and blah, blah, blah. That leads ultimately to the fire, because nobody thinks of changing the wiring, changing the wire installation, but definitely we change our aesthetic look, but definitely we change our furnishment, but we don't think to change our electricity or the plumbing or the pipelines or the firefighting system. Next, chalta hai, that attitude. Now slowly and steadily, because of the NBC, because of the new DPCR, of course there are some constraints in the new DPCR, that is, as everything has been shrink to 6 meter irrespective of the height of the building, which is really a funny part. I don't know why, because simple math says when you go up you are supposed to increase the base, then and then only you will get the inclined stability. But then if you are not increasing the base and you are just going up, definitely it is going to lead the problem. And the basic problem is that you cannot help out anything with the operational problems. Right now, for your information and for your knowledge, I had put my hydraulic platform outside the premises, because this subject is related to that. That's why I just wanted to bring to the notice of all of you the hydraulic platform, which most of the architects even probably do not know. Sorry to say, probably do not know, or though they take it into consideration. Okay, 6 meters just maneuvering of the vehicle is can be achieved, but here my appeal is that don't please take into consideration the maneuvering of the vehicle to and fro. It should be from the operational point of view, and the operational point of view says that there should be a minimum of width of 9 meters. Then and then only we will be able to stretch out the outriggers, and then we get the CG, and then only we will be able to go upstairs. I mean to say, at the height of the cage. That is whether it is a 32 meter, 54 meter, 70 meter, or 90 meter max, which is right now in our country with the Mumbai Fire Brigade. But above and over that, again, we have to rely on the internal firefighting system, on the refuge areas. But again, the refuge areas are being treated as something amenity place, and that should not be the case. And that refuge area, right from the location, from the size, from the design, and from its utility point of view, should be taken into good regards, and due importance should be given to the refuge area. Apart from all the things what we had discussed, I don't want to repeat it again. Though two important challenges what I had come across or encountered is the landscaping in the side margins. The landscaping is really creating a big problem, because landscaping gives you only amenity and gives you a very good sight, but it really hampers the operations. It really hampers the working of the fire department, working of the emergency department, working of the firefighting units. So importance should be given how much we should go for the this thing, landscaping, and in what way. That is an important point. And now two new things have come up. Two new things have come up. That is in today's area. One is the electricity, which is becoming day and day more taken into more use, which needs to be given importance. On the contrary, I would say in NBC, electricity should be given a due importance, and probably, if I'm not wrong, and permission from the electric department, because the electricity permission is given only up to the meter room. There are some electrical engineers from our PCMC. I think they would be able to tell something more on that. Above this thing, meter room, you don't have any control. You don't have any control. MACB is all the ABCDC is only up to the meter room. Then comes the problem of the overloading and all of these things. So there should be some sort of system wherein there should be some check and authority
to check whether the electricity or the electrical load or the electrical gadgets are being taken into use in a particular way, or there is no overloading or no detonation of wire, whether the resistance or the earthing is provided, neutral is there, off wire is there, everything is in its place or not, or working in the right direction or not. Next important point today is your MNGL, or say in Mumbai, it is PNGL. So in every buildings now, pressurized gas supply is being given. And now this is a challenge for the architects, for the integrators to take into account the design while designing the high-rise buildings, because now it has become an integral part of the high-rise buildings. All the buildings, if you see today, earlier it was the domain of the LPG gas bank. Now, instead of LPG gas bank, you find everywhere the reticulated system. And that reticulated system, either it is MNGL or PNGL or whatever it is creating a major hazard from the fire point of view, especially the what you call it as a the dynamic hazard. So that is one point. And last but not the least, apart from all the things, now EV, that is electrical vehicles and the charging points. This needs to be given more importance, because now this is coming today slowly and steadily, and now it will become a part of our day-to-day life. A few days back, on this thing also, most of us had seen there were some accidents, major accidents and serious accidents with the charging. People even today doesn't know whether the charging point should be your in household charging point, or a commercial charging point, or a charging point from your common system. So all these things needs to be defined, all these things need to be systemized, and all these things needs to be coded and practically brought into right way, so that these challenges can be taken into account. And in coming days, these two challenges, especially the electrical EV charging and the gas lines, shall not create a major problem for the high-rise building, apart from already what we are facing up to the day. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sir, for your valuable information and input.
And one small important point, the systems what we are installing, the maintenance, servicing, and the B form part of it, that also requires a very important thing to be taken care of.
Yeah, we'll make note of it. That's the question and answer session. Thank you very much for the panelists.
Thank you so much to all the panelists and the keynote speaker. The session was highly informative. Moving forward to the felicitation, I would call Mr. Shivaram Krishnan on stage to felicitate our panelist and the keynote speaker. Please, sir. Thank you. Now we will start with our first presentation from our valuable platinum sponsor, that is Bonton Cables. We have Ms. Nitika Ghai, Business Development Manager from Bonton Cables. I request her to start with the presentation.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you very much for having us here and giving us the opportunity to talk about wires and cables. I know it's very boring topic. Nobody really wants to discuss wires and cables, but here we are. It's very important topic these days, and I've been a part of this industry since 8 years now. And last 4 years, I've seen a great increase in these kinds of discussions, and you were talking about fire safety. In fact, NBC 2016 included fire survival cables or circuit integrity cables in it. So today my presentation is more towards what kind of codes, standards we are having, what is in general, the industry norms, what we are following, what kind of certifications we have, what kind of testing facilities we have for fire survival cables. So not just having these fire survival cables in the system is important, but having the right kind of fire survival cable is even more important. So it's like you have a disease and you want to give right kind of medication for that. So without taking a long time, we'll start with the presentation. Can I use it? Yeah. Fine. So let's start with the present scenario that we are having. So where we are currently. So authorities like BIS and NBC are taking fire survival very seriously these days. As I just told that NBC 2016 now has included circuit integrity cables in them. So another new standard that IS has introduced is IS 17505. Earlier we only had BS. Standing behind the podium is not my kind of thing. Yeah. So let's discuss, and let's have little eye contact and discuss about it. So as I was discussing, that BIS and NBC have taken serious consideration for fire survival cables and have included it in their specifications. NBC 2016 has 8 certain areas like pressurization pumps, magnetic door openers, fire pumps, emergency lighting, exit signages. So all has to be equipped through fire survival cables. Then BIS 732 also has introduced fire survival cables in them. And there is a new code in IS, which is IS 17505. Now, earlier there was only BS standards which were being followed for fire survival cables. But very recently, I think few months back only, a new standard was introduced for Indian standards. And now we are following IS 17505 for fire safety cables. Going further, for halogen-free wires, we have IS 17048. So this is NBC 2016, fire pumps, pressurization and smoke venting, fireman's lift, exit signage lighting, emergency lighting, fire alarm systems, public addresser systems, magnetic door bolt openers, and lighting in fire command center and security room. This is the first page for IS 17505, armored cables for fire survival cables. IS 732, which includes fire survival cables, and halogen-free wires and cables for high-rise buildings. So the ultimate aim for all these codes and standards are to increase the evacuation time. So in case of fire, your systems are running in safety, like fire alarm systems are working, sprinkler pumps are working, and then in case of a high-rise building, you have enough time to evacuate the building. Yeah. So since government departments and everybody is taking fire survival, fire safety very seriously, it is our responsibility, and the architects and consultants and the people responsibility, that they should include correct kind of fire survival cables in the system. So where are the gaps? The gaps are this is a new subject. This is a new concept. So clients, builders, they are very apprehensive in using fire survival cables, and obviously the increased costs creates a problem. So it's very difficult to accept that, okay, we are using fire survival cables and we have to use fire survival cables for NBC. Then new standards and new codes. So obviously understanding the new codes, new standards, Applying them correctly is very important, because unless you apply that correctly, it's no use using those standards and codes. Then there is a lot of permutation and combination. So anybody who has gone through IS 17505 knows that there are 7 types of fire testing included, and we have to analyze what kind of application requires what kind of tests. So some would require fire, water, and mechanical shocks. Some will only require fire tests. So there are a lot of permutation and combinations, and we need to educate ourselves, and we need to take time to educate each other. We need to educate consultants, architects, that what kind of fire survival cables we have and what kind is required in what category. So for example, armored cables are there. Then there are unarmored cables for fire safety. Both can withstand 950 degrees Celsius, but the application is completely different. So we need to understand the application before specifying something. So what happens is that since these topics are very new, so I get some inquiry at the end, because obviously when cables are being installed, it's almost the end of the project. So when I get the inquiries, the specification is completely mismatched to what the application is. And then it is very difficult to get it changed, very difficult to make the other person understand that, okay, you don't need this. This is very expensive. You can go through with this also and it will be suffice for your project. Or what you're using is not absolutely irrelevant. So people go for armored cables in conduits, and then they have a problem with that, and then they want, अच्छा आप तो wires दे दो, अब इसमें आप alternate क्या कर सकते हो, तो वो बहुत ज़्यादा ही confusion हो जाता है. So we need to take the first step in educating ourselves कि क्या standards हैं, उसकी क्या applications हैं, और कौन सी केबल हमें कहाँ use करनी चाहिए. आधा hassle तो वहीं खत्म हो जाएगा हमारा. Then going further, this I've already told you. So BS 7846 is for armored cables. BS 7629 is for unarmored fire survival cables. BS EN 60702 is for copper tubed fire survival cables, which is the most expensive, the most safer cables, but only required at very flammable situations like nuclear power plants and oil refineries and stuff like that. IEC 60702, again, same kind of cable. And lastly is IS 17505, sorry, which is a replica of BS 7846, armored fire survival cables, which is mostly used in the Indian industry right now. Now, another loophole here is that all these standards are copper, purely copper, and it is highly recommended to use fire survival cables in copper. But people who have used it and who are in this industry knows that it becomes very expensive. So we have an alternative, aluminum, although it is in neither of these standards. So we can do 25 square mm and above aluminum fire survival cables, but as per customer requirement, not as per any standards. So these are the testing standards. So another important thing, like I told you, that fire survival cables has 2 categories. So one is a basic test, and then comes the enhanced test. Now earlier, people were used to getting basic test for the fire survival cables, and that becomes cheaper also, and people were used to using that. But there is a slight change in the standards that now states that BS 6387, which is the basic fire survival test for 950 degrees Celsius 3 hours, is redundant for anything which is more than 20 mm overall diameter. So cables which are for more than 20 mm diameter has to go with enhanced testing, and anything that is less than 20 mm diameter can go for basic testing. So which is a very important change which people are unaware of. So they generally ask for BS 6387 in higher sizes, which is technically not applicable. So these are the number of enhanced tests that we can go for, but the stringent one is BS 8491, which is actually a replica of what happens in the real fire situation. Yeah. Okay. So in real fire situation, you have direct mechanical impacts, you have direct water jet impact, and you have 950 degrees Celsius of fires. So that's the stringent of the BS. Then the certifications. So third-party certificates are not that much available in India. Very few labs have them. So we are relying on the international testing like LPCB, basic, and TUV certification. So all these 3 are international. LPCB, basic are UK tested, and TUV is German tested. Testing is all the same, just the body is different. And we are the only cable company in India right now which has NABL certified fire testing in our factory. So we have a complete, as I told you, we have the complete range that I've just explained to you, and we do have aluminium cables also. We have aluminium cable tested from German lab, TUV tested also. So we are supplying to a lot of metros. We are supplying to a lot of builders after NBC 2016. So DLF, Lodha, Kalpataru, House of Hiranandani, Raheja, all these builders are very common. We are regularly supplying them fire survival cables. Yeah. So thank you for your time and support. And I hope that I've been able to give few information in a very short period of time. I do have all these standards available with me. So anybody who wants that, please connect. You can connect with me and I will be able to give all these standards and codes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the presentation and the sponsorship of the event. I request you to please stay on the stage. I'd like to call Ms. Pooja Gaikwad to felicitate Ms. Nitika Ghai as a representative of Bonton Cables. Yes, thank you. So we all will be having dinner after a panel discussion and one presentation from our sponsors. So I request everyone to please stay with us till dinner. Okay, so proceeding further, we will now have our second knowledge session by none other than extremely experienced consultant, Honorable Mr. Vinod Kapse on super high-rise building, fire and life safety. He has more than 20 years of valuable industry experience in design of fire protection systems for complex industrial commercial requirements, serving international organizations. His expertise in life safety NFPA 101 for industrial and commercial high-rise is unparalleled. So I request him to join the stage and share his valuable knowledge with us.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, Arik sir and Mr. Kiran Gowde sir. Basically, I'm a practicing consultant in fire protection as well as life safety design, and I've been doing projects in India and abroad for the past 25 years now. High-rise, super high-rise, high-rise and super high-rise. High-rise is just 15 meters and above as per NBC, 23 meters as per NFPA, and 24 meters as per UDCPR. So the definition of a high-rise changes standard to standard. So what I would say, anything more than 15 in specific standard that you follow is in high-rise. Super high-rise I call because anything that is more than 70 meters and above can be termed as super high-rise. And I would talk on some specific issues that a super high-rise has, which includes architectural, which includes passive, which includes other aspects of life safety. Yeah, I have this. Presentation. Yeah, I think that's stuck. So when you talk about super high rise, what I would like to address here is it starts from the time of your plan, your fundamental layout. That's what I'm going to show you now. It's not that you do after the building is up, after you design, you submit your plans, and then you say that I would like to do a protection for a high rise life safety. I think that will not be possible. It is only possible when you do it from the inception of the building planning. How do you plan your building and how do you plan your floors? How do you plan your exits? Placement of exits plays a very vital role. So to talk to you about the standards, yeah, as everybody has already said, a National Building Code is one that you follow. You have development control rules or UDPCR, that's the new. NFPA 5000, that's on international one. NFPA 101 is standards for life safety. IBC is International Code. So in case something that you don't find in the national codes, you should look up to IBC. That's International Building Code. And in case you need to know something very specific about a fire requirement, you can look at International Fire Code, and of course the Fire Code Handbook. That's NFPA 1. Objectives. So whenever I say that you want to design something, first you should know your objectives very clear. What objective to which you are going to design a system. So travel path adequacy for occupants timely leaving the building, congestion due to travel, firefighters way up with respect to carrying their hoses, carrying their life in terms of height, how they are going to carry a 70-meter high building or a 100-meter high building. It depends everything. So the objective of your design has to be very clear when you try to act a design. And suppression, detection, and containment, all three are the major fundamentals of fire safety design. It's not that you just do a good suppression system and your life containment is not good, it's not going to help. Or you do a good detection system and your suppression is not good, it doesn't help. So the three parameters which are extremely important to meet the objective are suppression, containment, and detection. When you talk of life safety for high-rise building, there are some key parameters that I would like to put on. So one is the minimum construction requirements. So the fundamental construction requirement, for example, if you're building a 2-story building and you're building a 100-meter building, there should be some difference in the constructional requirement. There should be some difference in the constructional strength of the building, the fire resistance of the structural elements of the building. When I say structural elements, these are the main columns, the shafts, the staircases, the exits. So the constructional requirement of the building forms the first part when you design a high-rise building. So a 70-meter building or a 275-meter building. There is a 275-meter building coming up in Mumbai. In Thane, there is a 72-floor building coming up. So the constructional requirement is the first aspect. Means of egress. So how do you plan your means of egress? Compartmentation, interior finishes, smoke-proof enclosures. So where you want to have your smoke-proof enclosures. Perimeter curtain wall. It's one of the most avoided or non-focused subject of a fire protection. Detection and alarm, of course, and extinguishment. Duration of operation. So how much time you want all the systems to operate? If you design a pump system, how much time you want it to operate? So we say 2 hours, we say 3 hours, we say 4 hours, or 1 hour light is there. So duration of operation, any system, any smoke extraction system, your smoke for an atrium, you have a smoke extract system which is mandatory as per NBC as well as per NFPA. So how long do you want the smoke layer interface to be at that height? So it's 20 minutes. So duration of operation is very important. Features of fire protection, what you are featuring in that building in terms of fire protection. Illumination, lighting, and signage. If there's no light, the room becomes dark. How you are going to evacuate? That's one part. And of course, special consideration for high-rise, as rightly said, for a super high-rise building, if you have a stairs which has a panic bar in an exit, you have one exit or two exits, and you have a panic bar, and you push the panic bar, go into the stairs, and then every floor from 100 floors has panic bar, and you see smoke coming out in the floor. How do you enter the floor again? So there should something be called a re-entry provision, as per international IBC. From the top floor, every 4 floors, the 5th floor has to be a re-entry provision, and you have to keep that panic bar keys outside the staircase, inside the staircase, so that if there is smoke coming in from down, you enter the stair, open the panic bar, enter the stair. We all say that put panic bar on doors, but that doesn't help. You need to have a re-entry provision if you're putting a panic bar. So that's one of the aspects. There's the re-entry provision that I have mentioned. Redundant power, which we just spoke. Interior flame spread finishes and ability. So in NBC it's written class 1, but it's not defined what is class 1. So I believe you can follow an international code for that. Circuit integrity cable, my friend just now talked about circuit integrity. IS 17505 is the latest code that has come about circuit integrity, and they have defined where to use what type of cables. So you need to pick up those particular aspect of circuit integrity. So coming to first part that I said, minimum construction requirement. So I picked up this from an international code which says if you want to have a high-rise building, which is more than 70 meters and above, so you need to have your primary structural frame with 3 hours, bearing walls 3 hours, floor construction 2 hours, so on and so forth. So the high strength concrete that you plan to use. So it starts from here, what you're going to build and how long you want it to prevail. Definition of means of egress. When I say means of egress, people don't know what I'm talking about. So means of egress is what the exit access from the occupied space to the exit. The staircase is called an exit. Exit means staircase. And then you have an exit discharge from where it goes. I had been to a building recently which said that we have a business building for 6,500 occupants. I asked him, where is your assembly area? He said, no, assembly area, he said, you come from podium 2, then half people can come from podium 1, half people come from podium 2, you can take the ramp and someone can come into the amphitheater area. I said, this is not your assembly here and exit access. Where have you planned your report? Which is the floor of discharge? You would clearly define, and how you are going to accommodate 6,500 people, because they need to take a count. Unless someone there takes a count and knows someone is inside, how would he protect him? So it's very important. I'll not go much detail into that. Everybody knows this. So your dead-end corridors is not maintained. I'll show you some examples of the floors that architects are doing. Placement of exits and dead-end corridors, just people don't just follow. Dead-end corridors is a place where there is a dead end and you should come back 15, 20 meters to go to a stairs, and there's no other way. So those limitations are always defined in the code, and people need to follow. Opening of doors, orientation. Now this door is wrong. It's opening inside. It's an exit door. So it's a wrong orientation. So there are blunders of this mistakes that people carry out. They don't know the orientation of doors, basic, how the door should open, which direction the door should open. Sorry. So which direction door? In a room which is of an X area, if I need to provide 2 doors, what is the distance between those 2 doors? Whether I can provide 2 doors next to each other, or I should provide there, or I should provide here, or I should provide here. There is a code to it. So you measure the diagonal distance divided by half. The distance between 2 doors should be more than the half of the distance. Okay, so there are a lot of insights of designing a building in terms of means of egress. So people should take that into consideration, as well as capacity of egress and factors. So you have for every specific type of an occupancy, there is a capacity factor defined. What is the capacity factor for an auditorium? It may be much higher than a capacity factor for an hotel. So based on the capacity factor, you have stairs capacity factors, width capacity factors. So you design your corridors, doors, size of doors, whether the door size is 1.5 meters, whether this is sufficient for this particular crowd. There is a code to follow. So I believe we need to follow that. Compartmentation is one major aspect, where how do you define your compartment? So if floor is a slab of 2 hours, so every floor is a compartment. You cannot have anything transferring between the floor. I've seen between 2 floors they give an open stair without a compartmentation, which is not allowed. If floor is defined as a zone and a compartment, the floor has to be compartmented between floor and floor. You cannot put an open staircase cut out and put a staircase between 2 floors, because fire from a floor can go above. So compartmentation is one major aspect. Ceilings and shafts. This is the major reason for fires in this building. Shaft and ceilings. People are very careless about carrying out passive cables, carrying out pipes, conduit pipes, PVC pipes. I've seen rainwater pipes coming vertically down the building, about 20-floor building. The rainwater pipe coming inside through the floors, and there is no ceiling. And they say that around the rainwater I have covered, but it doesn't help, because the PVC pipe will burn and the rainwater pipe itself will cause a hole, and that hole cannot be sealed. So you have appropriate passive measures to seal that hole. You can put a collar, which is a strip or a collar that we call, and you put around the rainwater pipe. If there is heat below, the collar melts and it closes the hole as well. But if you just put the cement around the pipe, it's of no use. Passive iron. Smoke-proof staircases. Staircases has been a big challenge here when architect design. What I've seen is, for any building, they put the staircase in the center of the core. Even for a residential building, I've seen there is a lift core and the 2 staircases are in the center of the core. Why? Why should the staircase be in the center of the core? For example, I'm living in a 50-floor building. Okay, so why should if I'm on 45th floor, am I going to 46th floor or 44th floor? I'm not. 90% of the time, from the 45th floor, I'm going to go to the ground floor, and from the ground floor, I'm going to the 45th floor. Why do we need a staircase next to the core? Can the staircase be segregated to a side? So that if it is what is the advantage of going to the side? If it is in the core, you need to have a pressurization system. For a 100-meter building, designing a pressurization system itself is a challenge. And then working of that particular pressurization system is the second challenge. And then people maintaining the pressurization system after the building is handed over is the third challenge. Nothing happens. And no pressurization system works. Because if 1 door is open or 2 doors are open, the pressurization system is gone for toss. And lift is the heart of your evacuation. The people are there in the lift. And oh, sorry, I have an alarm for 2 minutes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Pardon me? The demand is to continue.
If audiences are ready.
So what I say is, once the floor plan comes to me with the stair in the center, I just lose it. Well, how do you protect it? You cannot put a pressurization system and give it to the residential building and say your society to maintain it. They don't maintain the pump. How do they maintain the pressurization system? Who is going to test it? Okay, so I asked them to pull the staircases to the side, pull the staircases to the perimeter of the building, and then put a lower. Just put 2 lowers on the corner, it is ventilated. Get a status of ventilation and suffice. You don't need to spend for a pressurization system. You need to maintain it. So it's an easy way of design. So passively, how well you can design your building, that adds value. I've shown some examples how you can do a open staircase pressurization. Yes, our standard says cross ventilator pressurized. So people say there is pressurization, I'll do pressurization. But it is not simple. It doesn't work. Simple. It doesn't work. So you need to be very careful when you design. You can add a lot of passive things to the building which can protect the building rather than active systems. Now, one of the buildings that I have just surveyed, 2 staircases. One entry is from here, one entry is from there. So a person from here, if he wants to go, he has to go to that staircase on the other side. So that's how the building is. From this corner, it is more than 45 meters, and they have put it in the core. There is no ventilation. It's pressurization system, and the system didn't work. And people are coming down the stair. There full smoke in the stair, and people panicked. So such 2 stairs. We don't even know how they place the stairs. Is this the way how a stair is to be placed? I would have placed it at 4 corners and 2 in the center. So this is the problem. Stair. You can do a simple mechanical ventilation also for a stair. You put a shaft behind the stair, even if it is in the core. You did not do pressurization. Okay, there are much easier methods to do and to achieve smoke-free stair. Elevators, occupant elevators, super high-rise building, as per any code, even an FPA and NBC, they say that elevators cannot be used for evacuation. That is fine, but at least the evacuation should be used for the people who are sick, who are old, who have lost something due to the fire. They are able to carry it. At least the fire brigade has to put an elevator. So to put an elevator, to use an elevator safely, there is a fundamental standard to enclose the elevator, put a detector there so that any smoke in that area will be picked up and the elevator will go to a ground stand. There is a defined way how you create an elevator that can be used at least by firefighters for high-rise building. 75-meter building, how do you expect someone to walk down the stair? So that's one important aspect but the code says the elevator cannot be used for evacuation. So that's one addition that they can do. Re-entry to stairs, I just discussed. Passive fire protection. This is most important aspect of curtain wall protection. People have glazed buildings these days. They want to have very high-rise glazed buildings, partitions. But the gap in between the building, between the slab and the facade is not protected. 90% of the buildings are not protected. They do some patchy work, and it will transport the fire from floor to floor by this type of. This is one of the most critical aspect of. You can have a ventilated panel, activated smoke vents, which I don't see in Pune. There are some areas which they do it, but not other places. You can have these windows ventilated. The code says you have a manual window which can open, but who is going to open it? That's not written. So who is going to open the window when there is a manual window? They written you have a window to 1.2 meter height, 1.2 meter to manually open it, but someone has to open it in case of fire. All these glass facade building, the biggest challenge is the envelope of building, which is fully sealed. And once the heat generates, smoke generates the smoke, there's no place the smoke can go out. So you need to have some mechanism to get the smoke out of the building. So an automated system with an actuator can really do wonders. Emergency lighting, of course, it's part of the code. So emergency lighting in case of fire, in common areas, in staircases, you need specific emergency lighting, which needs to be maintained. Height of windows. So normally, residential building has a lot of height. But if you maintain a specific height where the H is given from the floor slab to the bottom of the next window is more than 3.8 meter height, then the fire will not leap from floor to floor. But not many architects follow this, they know this. But they want a bigger window. For this, you need to maintain a sill of 1 meter, window of 1 meter, and a sill above 1 meter. So 3 meters are covered, and then only you can satisfy, and the fire from this window will not go into the next window. So that's the requirement of the building. So we see ACPs that are used vertically along the building. The use of ACP also is one of the most important factor for external spread of fire. ACPs have it's a metal composite material which has 2 aluminum sheets and then polyethylene in between inside, which is a very toxic material. So the external spread of fire. The first photo that I put on the slide was the Grenfell Tower fire, where the ACP was wrong, the material was wrong. And even if you want to have an ACP, you should not connect it vertically up. If you connect the ACB vertically up, the fire will travel vertically. Even if you want to have some design, you can have it horizontally between 3 floors or 4 floors, but you cannot have it vertically up. So I've seen so many buildings that ACP is run all over, round, vertical, height, whichever way they want, they'll put the ACB. That's one important factor. Glass. As per NBC standard, structural element reinforcement, that is the table 1 of NBC says that you have a retaining wall for type 1 and type 2 construction, which is approved for residential and business. Most of the construction, you should have the retaining wall of 1 hour, or if you're using glass, it should be a 1 hour, or you should put a sprinkler at that particular glass. But the most important aspect is that the glass, it is written that the glass should hold the frame in place. This is missed by everybody. So normally I've seen that they use only tempered glass and they don't use a laminated glass. There's only a laminated glass which will hold the glass in frame. Except laminated, no other glass will hold the glass in frame. This is very important because if the glass breaks, the firefighter below cannot fight because the glass pane start falling off from the window due to heat. So laminated glass is extremely important to be used. Of course, walls, doors, there's much to talk. Yeah, emergency power, I think my friend will be very happy looking at this slide. So you have power to be used for emergency power and a fire survival cable to be used for all important aspects of the building safety, so that the power goes on. Anything that you expect to work post a fire has to have a survival cable. So that's one important. Turning radius for, which we just talked. Gaudes have also just said that turning radius is very important. Yeah, in Mumbai we have a 90 meter, so it's more than 100 meters, and then its width is 8 meters, and it needs 17 meters turning radius. I don't see a 17 meter turning radius built anywhere. They build standard 8 meter, 9 meter turning radius. This truck will never even go there. So that's one aspect. You need to know in your area what. For example, this is HLA 90, if I'm not wrong. Bronto 90, 90 HLA. This is 90 meter ladder in Mumbai. In Pune, it is 55, F55. It's a 55 meter ladder. It also needs a side arm, and it's 8 meters. So you cannot. So you need to know your design. Evacuation drills. Professional engineers to test all the systems. As you said, categories of testing of all systems, primary and naturally, is important. Roles and responsibilities should be defined. Building owner responsibility, and you can monitor a system through an IoT. As I said, Nitin has developed something through which you can monitor the critical system. So you know whether the pump is working, there is water in the tank, whether the jockey pump is working, pump has failed, no power. At least 4 or 5 critical parameters. If you pick up and put it on your app or your system, it'll help you to understand. It's very simple. I don't think it's very complicated. It's just a system and a GSM module, and it pushes the data, and you get it on all your mobile. I think that's more important. And one more important aspect that I would like to, in spite of all this monitoring system, you can at least have one mimic panel at the floor at super high-rise building, which will display you all the controls of all critical parameters what I have listed. Status and switching it on at one specific fire control room location. If not, you have fans here, you have fans there, you are on terrace, the starter is there on terrace, this starter is there down, one is in the basement. Kindly put everything together and put one panel which will give you a display of all the systems, a status and a button to start. So that will help putting this. Thank you very much, guys. I've taken so much of time. Thank you very much. I should be here.
Thank you so much, sir. No doubt the session was really very informative and insightful.
If people have skipped dinner and waited for me, I'm sure it is interesting.
Okay. So now I request Mr. Ajit Raghavan to join the stage and felicitate Mr. Vinod Kapse. Thank you so much. So now we will start with our second presentation from our valuable silver sponsor, Tulsi Fire. We have Mr. Ashish, Director of Tulsi Fire, here with us today. I request Mr. Ashish to come forward for the presentation.
Good evening to all ST member. Tulsi Fire Silver Life Security. Ma'am, please. Ma'am. Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Secure quality. Sebon. Please, Tulsi, what do you? Okay. We are one of the most finished manufacturer of equipment like firefighting equipment, like hydrant, nozzle, coupling, branch, all item in ISI. We are the field of 2007. Our focus on the quality product and service on the time save people life. We have the best infrastructure and corrective quality product. The building structure 15,000 square feet. We have construction building of such a name of the different type of laboratory, hydrogen working pressure and testing, bursting pressure. This lab in different type. R&D development. Tulsi Fire has the one of laboratory with all update test equipment and improve the quality and maintain. Purchase team, they are dedicated to purchase good quality of raw material so that can become the good quality. This like all item ISI like RL hose, hydrant, hosildum, and type B, coupling, male-female coupling, branch pipe, and SS and gunmetal. Hosildum, three types, cabinet, fire extinguisher for approval and VIS. Okay, thank you. Please show the video.
Thank you so much, sir. I request you to join the stage as we want to felicitate you. I would like to call Ms. Simple Jain to come forward and felicitate Mr. Ashish. Okay. So now we have reached to our last knowledge session by eminent consultant Mr. Anand Joshi on the topic fire safety in mixed occupancy buildings, followed by a panel discussion. Mr. Anand Joshi, ex-FSAI Pune chapter president, who has served the position for 6 years very actively, has his own company named S.N. Joshi Consultants Private Limited, established in the year 1991, and is one of the leading consultancy firms that offers a blend of knowledge, technology, innovation, service, and integrity. His hard work and knowledge has always been recognized and awarded several times. So I request him to join the stage and share his valuable knowledge with us.
Hello, I request everybody who is standing in the corridors can come inside. Can you just check outside? Everybody standing in the corridors can come inside. This is the last session.
Good evening. Good evening. And you are all highly spirited people. Good evening. So no spirits required. So you all must be hungry, right? Right? So I'm sure you are hungry for knowledge. So we are having this panel discussion. So good evening to all of you. It has been a great pleasure to come to FSI for this seminar and have a panel discussion on mixed occupancy buildings. So as you know that Pune is now the center of growth for in the country, to be very frank. The Mumbai developers, even Pune large developers are coming up with mixed development as the main projects. Now, what is mixed development? I would just take 2 minutes to explain that. Next. So if you see this project which we are doing, it has got a mall, it has got a commercial building, it has got a multiplex, it has on the left side there's a hotel, and then in the center where you see like a curved thing is the food court. So in this building, just imagine the fire safety norms that are required. The activities are so different, and it's most highly dense populated building. So mixed use for fire safety is a very big challenge that needs to be really planned. Now, next slide, please. So even this project, which we are doing with Mr. Zavdekar, here there is a commercial, there is a residential. Even a small building like this has a lot of mixed use development, and it has got a lot of firefighting challenges. Next slide, please. Then this could be a huge campus also, where there is a university, there is a residential area, there is a commercial. So these also are very challenging as a mixed use development. So when you say mixed use means a lot of activities in a single this thing. Next slide, please. So this is another challenging project where there is a temple, there is a residential plot, there is a pilgrimage spot. So all these mixed use become very challenging. And to be very frank, this is a very good topic that we have FSA has taken up, and we have got very good panelists today who will be throwing their light, their experience with you all. And you please be open, ask your questions as we proceed with the panel discussion. I would like Shetali to please introduce the panelists so that we can start the session.
Yes, sir. So I would like to invite our panelists on stage. Architect Sashank Phadke graduated from a well-known school of architecture known as MMCA. He jointly owns Soulspace Architectural Consultants Private Limited along with his wife. Mr. Sarvesh Zavdekar, who has 15 years of experience in several infrastructural projects like water treatment plants, concrete and asphalt roads, real estate development. Ms. Tejaswini Dhomse, who is the chairperson of Pimpri Chinchwad Cooperative Housing Societies Federation. Mr. Arun Dharam, who has 30 years of experience in project management, technical services, facility and quality management, and is one of the founders of MEPA. Mr. Irfan Zuberi, director of Tulsi Fires. Mr. Shivaram Krishnan from SS Consultant.
So, welcome all the panelists here. I'm sure we have got very high dignitaries here who have got more than 20, 30 years of experience in this field. So, I would like to start with the design. You know, if fire safety has to be taken care, first is the design stage. So, I would like our architect, Mr. Shashank, to please enlighten us for such mixed-use development, you know, where there is different sort of traffic. There's a commercial traffic, there's a mall traffic, or it could be residential. So how do you take care of fire safety, and what are the good engineering practices that you follow?
Thank you, Anand. It's my pleasure to be here in this FSI event to discuss on this design part. Basically, whenever an architect starts designing, he has to go from macro to micro and micro to macro. That means we have to decide on the layout, we have to decide on the buildings, and then we have to concentrate on particular buildings and where the multiple use is going to take place. So the design starts at the level of basements or parking itself, and then it proceeds further till ground, and then wherever the mixed use, and then later on upper uses where it can be residential, also it can be hospitality, or it can be little bit of soft industrial development, because now we never know that premises will be used for what kind of multiple uses. So speaking about the safety, considering the fire norms, we have to really concentrate the design on the structural part, which plays a very integral role considering the parking and whatever the elements, those will be going till top. Most of the times, considering the ground floors in multiple uses, mostly they are commercial premises. So the frontage plays very important role, and maximum road frontage is utilized for purpose of these spaces. And then later on, whatever uses are proposed on upper